Hey, what's happening guys? I'm ika.himee and welcome to my channel. So not that long ago I had actually ordered some stuff off of Wish and I got some art supplies. Now I don't have all of my art supplies yet. They're scheduled to arrive at various different dates, but I do have a couple. So I'm going to review what I have, and I'm going to start with the STA ink liners. I have seen this brand kind of around, but I've never actually seen it in person or used it, so I decided to just pick it up off of Wish to give it a review. Again, as Wish is, it doesn't really have a huge description of the product, so I went on and found something similar to use the description of, and it is professional quality fine point pen, ideal for drawing and writing, archival quality ink for use in acid-free environments, chemically stable, waterproof, bleed-proof, and fade-resistant, no smears, feathers, or bleed-through on most papers. Long metal tip, ideal for use with rulers and templates. Pigment ink is indelible, compatible with Copic markers, photocopy safe, does not dissolve, toner. It is non-toxic, water-based, and acid-free black ink. They're suitable for drawing, sketching, illustration, art, painting, design, outline, and so on. So that is the expectations of which I am going to be holding these pens up to. And here I am just kind of opening up. I have never used these pens before until today. As you can see, it says water-based as well as water-resistant. I am a little hesitant about that, as most things that are water-based are actually created with water, so they dissolve easily in water. So I'm not entirely sure. It seems a bit hypocritical, but I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to test it out for you guys to see how that goes. Now, I did already put these marks down for you. As you can see, it's just pretty much standard ink liners. The only thing that I see here that was an issue was the brush tip had a bit of feathering, and that could be possible because of the paper that I'm using. I am using Canson watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press, so it is a bit textured. So I'm not going to hold that against the ink pen itself. Now, I did get these other art supplies. These are they're like water pens, and I tried to look it up, and when I got it I tried to open it and I broke it, so I had to tape the thing back together. It's just cheap plastic, but they are Miao Yi Chinese brand water pen brushes. I tried to look all over the internet to see if I could find this specific brand and if there was a description for it to go along with it. However, I was unable to do so. I could not pull up anything under this brand name, so I did find something similar, and I'm going to use that description to hold these up to that standard. And it says that they are easy to use, simple to master, and flawlessly constructed for incredible balance and control. We use only premium vibrant dyes for each brush to allow you to create bold, bright art. So essentially, I am just kind of expecting bold, bright art. It looks very professional. I find the casing of the pens to be very aesthetically pleasing. It did come with a water brush as well, which I was kind of surprised because I had forgotten that it came with one, but I did fill it up off camera, and as you can see, the cap fits snugly at the end of the barrel, which is really nice. I do like that. However, I typically don't use that function on my Sakura one as much because I just throw it in the bin. However, it does fit on there as well. Now, in comparison, the Miao Yi one seems a bit flimsier, like a bit of a cheaper material. I don't want to say flimsy, it just feels a bit cheaper compared to the Sakura one. It's a bit of a harder barrel. However, like where you squeeze it, it's a bit softer, so we're gonna see how that performs in a minute actually. But yeah, the cap fits on snugly, everything seems to be okay, and I really have no complaints so far. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I had to say about the packaging of it. So let's test out. We're gonna test out the water brush pen right now, and what I'm doing is I'm actually kind of starting it. What you have to do is you have to squeeze the barrel to get the water through, and I'm just testing to make sure that there are no leaks and that it is screwed on properly and that the water is dripping properly, which it is here, which I was very excited about because it didn't take nearly as much pressure to get the water out of it as I thought it might when I initially pulled the barrel out. So that was super exciting to see. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and swatch the colors. Now, it's a bit more pigmented than I had expected. I didn't really know exactly what I had expected, but this one specifically was very pigmented, and I was actually quite pleased to see that because it gave me high hopes for it. Now we're going to test the blendability, and oh wow, it does not take a lot to activate that. And it's possible that it's just because you're already starting with a wet medium, so it's not like you're trying to activate a like chalky pan paint, but it's activating quite nicely actually. I am really impressed. Yeah, that's actually quite good, and the pigment just, wow, it really goes wherever you take it. It's really impressive actually. Pleasantly surprised. I didn't have high expectations for this, but you know, I'm starting to develop some higher expectations. I'm really impressed. Wow. So I'm just going to go ahead and time lapse through the rest of these swatches. Really nothing interesting happens. A lot of the colors were very, very vibrant, and I was actually quite pleased. There were a few of the colors in there that the actual pigment didn't really seem to match the cap that was on the pen itself. Oh, no, there's some trouble. This one seems to have sprung a leak in transit. Oh boy. Well, I will deal with that later. Or never. Probably never. Oh well. Back to time lapse. For the most part, the colors actually surpass my expectations. They are very bright and bold, and it is very similar to like using an actual marker and just being able to blend it out with water, which is really nice because sometimes I will use some water-based markers to get extra definition in some of my watercolor paintings, so this is actually quite nice. I will say that some of the pigment seems a bit harder to get out of the actual brush pen, and I don't know if it's because they have less ink in them or if there's just so little pigment. I'm not really sure what the deal is, but some of them I had to work harder to get going, and some of them, as we'll see, it's like they feel like they're just, I don't know, like, I mean, I know that it's like less pigmented for lighter colors, but I feel like they could have added a little bit more pigment into some of the colors to allow you to kind of blend them out a bit more with water, as this is again like watercolor, so you can actually just use water to dilute the colors. But I mean, all in all, they give you 20 colors, so I can't really complain too much because you have a very nice selection. There are a lot of blues, however, but I mean, I'm not really super upset about that. I would have liked a more like a warm peach color. The pinks, like there was a warm red, but like most of the reds seem a bit cool, and there's only like one peach color. But these are all the swatches, and I mean they all look nice, and for what it is, I'm actually pretty surprised that it even came out. So yeah, it's honestly, I'm just really, really impressed. The colors are very vibrant, and there seems to be no transfer. They seem to dry nicely. I'm gonna try a darker color to see. Yeah, looks good. Double check my finger. All right, yep, that's good. Yeah, so I mean they seem to act just like regular watercolors. So now I'm actually going to test out the ink and how if it holds up to its claim. I did erase over it. It has dried on the page, however it hasn't sat out for a very prolonged period of time, so I did erase over it to get any of the excess ink that might be hanging out off of it. So there was a little bit of fading, but honestly not too bad. It's very typical for ink pens. There's really no avoiding it unless you just use like black India ink. Now I'm just going over with like just clear water right now to see if there's any smudging, and I'm really going in there, like I am trying to smudge it, and it's actually not going anywhere. It seems to be staying in place, which honestly, compared to what I believed and everything I knew about water-based pigments, I'm really impressed. It actually seems to be water resistant. Now I am going to double check with some watercolor pen, and I'm going to actually see if there's any difference here. And I'm just going to go in and blend that out and basically do the same thing I did before, but with color, and it's actually looking good. Doesn't really look like there's any transfer, smearing, smudging. It all looks pretty okay. So, you know, that's really good. It means that I double checked that shit and it looks awesome. So, cool, it gets the pass from me. So now we get to move on to its next claim, which is Copic marker. It says that it is compatible with Copic markers, meaning that it should not smudge or smear when used with these. Copic markers are alcohol based, so let's see how it goes. I did pick a light color to test it out and see, and I'm really going in there again. I'm really trying to make a smudge, and honestly, nothing is happening. It is not budging. I am extremely impressed. It doesn't seem to be budging at all. I couldn't believe it. I had to go in and do it again. I had to test it out again just to make sure my eyes weren't deceiving me, just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. Wow, this is really impressive. It's actually just not smudging. It seems so far to have held up to its claim. I'm really, really impressed. It gets a pass from me. STA liners are good to go. Now I am going to work on an actual illustration here, so I'm going to see you back here in a second, and I'm going to use these supplies, so catch you in a second. Alrighty, here we are. I am going over, I decided to do something simple, and I did just go ahead and do a little eggplant Lucoa chibi. I really do enjoy Dragon Maid, which was really what inspired me to draw eggplant Lucoa, aside from the fact that I just wanted something simple that used several different colors, because I did really want to maximize my use of this certain art supply. And as you can see, I did mess up a little bit. I am a little bit rusty with watercolors, and I just put colors together that were really wet. Okay. But I really did want to try and get the most out of this. I was just trying to really see what the blendability was, how they actually interacted in an art piece itself instead of just like swatches, and so far everything seems to be very nice. It seems to be very vibrant. The colors seem to be mixing together quite well. Now granted, I didn't go like super crazy with like my details or anything, but the colors do seem to be blending quite nicely together, and I'm especially happy with the way the eggplant came out. That looks actually quite nice, and I didn't know what it was really going to get out of it, because the colors were so they were so contrasty, like they were so dark and dull versus very vibrant purple, so it was actually nice to see that they kind of complemented and blend together really well. Now I just decided to go around and kind of use up a lot of the colors that didn't get used in the piece to just kind of test them out in their blendability, and just to see how that would go, as well as just kind of frame eggplant Lucoa a little bit, because I did want to add a bit more color to her to kind of just take up some of that white space. Everything seems to be going pretty okay. I actually have no real complaints. Now I am going to go in with the STA liners, and I'm going to outline that, and I decided to outline afterwards because I really wanted to test the functionality of the water pens, so I really wanted to go in with that first to really see what I was working with, because, you know, an ink pen is an ink pen, and these seem to have gotten a pass for everything, and I'm sure they would have been absolutely fine, but I really just kind of wanted to go in afterwards, and after all, I did want some bold lines, and yeah, so overall I'm actually really quite pleased. I think that this came out very nice, especially for what it is. I know it's not a super great drawing, but it's not about drawing. It's about coloring materials today, so yeah, I'm actually quite pleased with this, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. All the links to my social media and shop are in the description. Please feel free to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!